Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. And I will give the talk on the topic, that is the what is the difference between the traditional chemical fertilizer and today's for biofertilizer. So before starting the topic, we will first familiar about these three terms: basic, the microbe, soils, and fertilizer, and what is the microbe, soils, and fertilizer, and how they interact with each other. So basically, the microbes are the tiny organism which can present on the soils, and we cannot see these microorganisms through the naked eyes, and they live in everywhere, such as a water, soil, and air. And the soil is the home of a million of these microbes, and some microbes are harmful, but some are important for plants productivity. And the second term is a soil, and because soil is a complex mixture of mineral, water, air, organic matter, and countless organisms, and it is a home for plant, and it is required for the plant growth and their survivability, and it forms at the surface of land, and it is also called the skin of the earth. And soil is capable to supporting the plant life and their vital for life on earth. Besides that, microbes and soil, there is the third term, that is the fertilizer. Fertilizer is basically requirement for the growth of the plants, crops, and other grasses and other agriculture crops. So basically, the fertilizer are the natural or artificial substance containing the nutritional element that improve soil quality and productiveness of the plant. And fertilizer available in a two category, that is chemical fertilizer and biofertilizer. So in general practice, for enhancing the soil fertility, humans can use the different types of the fertilizer to make the soil fertile and able for the plant growth and crop yielding. And concentration of soil nutrients such as a organic carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium are the indicator of the soil quality and productivity. So humans and farmers are used different types of fertilizer to increase the concentration of these soil nutrients to make the soil fertile. If the soil fertility decline when the quantity of nutrients removed from the soil, and the decline fertility of soil can affect the productivity of the crops, most of the agriculture's crops, and their productivity and yield were lost. In West Bengal, Haryana, Punjab, and Uttar Pradesh, Uttaranchal, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu, these are the major states. We can consume the major fertilizer such as a chemical fertilizer and other pesticides. These are the numerous ways to improve the fertility of the soils, just such as a volatilization, leaching, chemical fertilizer, cultivation, crop rotation, and mulch, etc. Several methods are available for increase the soil fertility. But the question is arise ki why we require the fertile soils, because fertile soils is most important for the plants and crops for their survivability and to make the better productivity. So we can use the fertilizers and other things which can improve the soil fertility. So different types of practice are available for the soil fertility and increase the crop productivity. So the question is arise, then what is the fertilizer? And terms of fertilizer is what is denoted. Basically, the fertilizer are the natural and synthetic material which can use to supply the essential elements to the plant, which elements are readily available for the growth and development of plant. And these are provided to the plant either by the soil, if we can use the fertilizer to implement in form of the soil, and we can provide the fertilizer to the soil directly, then plant can take up these fertilizers in by their roots. And if we use the foliar feeding treatment, then plant take up these treatment through the leaves. So these are the two different way to apply the fertilizer. Basically, fertilizer is used by plant, so fertilizer can supply the essential element to the plant and increase the plant growth. So these are the term, this is the term, that is the fertilizer we are basically use for chemical fertilizer as well as biofertilizer. And now come to the why we require the fertilizer. Such as a human beings, we can require the drugs and other immunity booster dose. So same similarly topic and similarly fundamental is used for the plant growth and increasing the plant productivity. We use the fertilizer, and fertilizer is applied on the soils so they can provide the certain element, nutrient, plant growth support, increase their flowering, increase their yield and crops and fruits, and increase the soil fertility, increase the soil aeration, which is useful for the plant growth and their development, increase the water holding capacity in situation of the drought condition, provide the deficient elements that are not available on the soil or their concentration is less. So in these conditions, fertilizer is much required for the plant growth and their development. So these are the 17 essential nutrients which affect the growth of the plant. In a air and water, plant can take up the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen through the soil and fertilizer. Plant can take up the most of the nutrient, that is the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, zinc, iron and boron, magnesium, manganese, molybdenate, copper, calcium, chlorine and nickel. And here you can see that the most of the nutrient and essential nutrient can be taken by the plants through the soils as well as the fertilizers. And if the soil have any lesser amount of the nutrient, and if the soil is deficient with the nutrient, so in these cases fertilizer are required as a vital role, and they provide the growth to plant and essential nutrients. So now come to the, that is the types of the fertilizers. Then different types of fertilizers are available in a market, and we can divide the fertilizer on the basis of their origin. So first is a single fertilizer that can provide the single nutrient to the plant. Some fertilizers are compound fertilizers that can provide the components of different nutrients, that is such as a NPK fertilizer that provide the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium to the plant. And organic fertilizer, third category, which indicate the organic manures and compost used as a biofertilizers. And inorganic fertilizers, the last category, that is the artificial and chemical fertilizer, where we can use the artificially synthesized compound as a chemical fertilizer. So these are the types of fertilizer. So first is organic fertilizer. They are derived from the organic compound, and they can range from organic compost to cow manure. And cow manure are conventional farming method used as a organic fertilizer. Before the arrival of the chemical fertilizer and most of the pesticides and biofertilizer, the common method that had been used by the farmers is the use of cow manure. They can use the cow manure for the plant productivity and increase the soil fertility. Pesticides would not be considered as an organic fertilizer, and basically organic fertilizer can be of different types, such as a manure and compost, plant manure, that is debris, plant stubbles and residues, and different types of other fertilizers. Animal manure and compost are consist of the solid and liquid feces and litter, and they are the good quality manure, and they have the excellent source of organic nutrient. And the fresh manure may be available from the livestock operation. And these compost can be made from the materials such as a yard waste, sawdust, manure, and industrial byproduct. And they have a dark brown appearance, granule in size, and has a musty smell. And these are the most of the traditionally method and commercially method that use animal manure and compost for the increasing the fertility of soils and the plant productivity and their crop yielding. After that, the green manures, the green fertilizer is a method in which incorporation of green manure crops, we can use the different types of crops such as a leguminous plant, such as a pea, soya bean, or other chickpeas. These plant we can use to increase the soil fertility, and we can incorporate these crops into the field to increase the plant productivity and the crop productivity, as well as the essential nutrient quantity in soil. Plants are these are the plants are produced, and their whole mass is turned into soil biomass, and they can increase the soil fertility by incorporating the nutrient and organic matter in soil. Here we can use different types of legume plants such as the pea and chickpea and the soya bean. These plant can have the ability to nitrogen fixation, and they have the much more nutrient efficiency category, and they provide the nutrient and organic matter in soil, and which can increase the soil fertility as well as the plant and crop productivity. And the next method of the organic fertilizer we can use, that is plant stabilizers and root residues. The plant which we can use for the cultivation on the upper part, we can use the residues, roots and their stabils and other residues parts as a fertilizer. And these roots of cultivation plant play a significant role in maintenance of the fertility, digestion of nutrient and improving the structure of the soil. And they have a great advantage on the organic manure, that they homogeneously act in the soil, and in this way the organic material distribution is even. And now come to the chemical fertilizer. Basically, these are the next second category. The before we can describe about the organic fertilizer we can use in the traditionally way, and after that the chemical fertilizer, the most reported fertilizer. And nowadays, current days, the farmers are dependable on the chemical fertilizers. So these chemical fertilizers are basically made up of simple inorganic chemicals or mineral, and inorganic fertilizer are used to distinguish the manufactured product from natural organic matter of plant and animals. And there is specification why they use the chemical fertilizer. There is specification are that they are easy to store, and they have the analysis than organic fertilizer. They can be custom formulated for a specific purpose, and easy to apply, can be applied uniformly. They do not require that is specific for the specific crop. They can be used as a uniformly. They are available in a liquid and solid both form, and nutrients are readily available to plant. Just like in a human, we can use the allopathic medicines, so which are readily and easily work, and they can provide the quick precautions and quick relief for other diseases and other things, such as a chemical fertilizers is also easily work, and they easy to store, and they have the readily available nutrient for the plant in case of chemical fertilizers. But the chemical fertilizer is basically as such. Here are the some examples of the chemical fertilizer. But the drawback with the chemical fertilizer is that they are non-degradable, and most of the chemical fertilizer are remaining in a soil as well as in a plant after the application of the soil. Here are the some examples of the chemical fertilizer, that is the anhydrous ammonia, urea, superphosphate and diammonium phosphate, which are currently used in a different state and in different fields for curing the different types of disease, as well as increasing the soil fertility and the plant productivity. But they have the harmful effect, not even at a field level but also at the human life. In the chemical fertilizer that used in agriculture, they have the ability to accumulate in the soil, and they polluted the water source, which can be harmful for the living water living bodies as well as fish and other water bodies, and they reduce the soil fertility after a long period of time, and they destroy the microorganism and beneficial insect in a soil, as well as make crops susceptible to disease attack. So here are the major concern about the chemical fertilizer, and they have the adverse effect on agriculture. So besides the soils, they have also effect on the environment, because agriculture emit the more of the 40% of the total greenhouse gases emission, of which chemical fertilizer is mainly responsible for the emission of greenhouse gases in form of N2, CO2 and CH4. Urea fertilizer is emit N2O and CO2, while the DAP fertilizer emit the carbon dioxide and methane, mainly in a rice crop. So not for the human body and the water body's life, they also destroy the environmental condition, and the environmental condition directly affect the human's life. So chemical fertilizers is harmful for the environment, human, as well as for the living beings that live in the waters and the soils. So these are the wake up calls. So chemical fertilizer could not be used, will not be used in future, and we can decrease the amount of the uses of the chemical fertilizer. So the question is arise, what we used in place of the chemical fertilizer. So here are some solution and upgradation of agriculture is required. So we can use the biofertilizer. The biofertilizer is basic substance that contain the microbes which helpful in promoting the growth and plants and tree by increasing the supply of essential nutrient to the plant. It comprises the living organism which include the mycorrhizal fungi, blue-green algae and bacteria and endophytic bacteria, thus or the microorganisms which are beneficial for the plant as well as for the soil. So they can increase the soil fertility. So why we use the biofertilizer? Because they are the safe alternative to chemical fertilizer. They minimize the ecological distribution. They are the cost effective and they are eco-friendly, and they may be generated at a harm itself. They increase the crop yield more than a 50% after using 3 to 4 years. There is no need to application of biofertilizer because they are parentally accumulated as a significant for growth and multiplication. They improve the soil texture, pH and other properties of soil. They produce the plant growth promoting substance such as a phytohormones, amino acid, and vitamins, and they have the 75% moisture, and it could be applied to the field directly, and it is helpful for the plant as well as for the environment. So the key biofertilizers here I am provided, that is the rhizobium, azotobacter, azospirulina, phosphate solubilizing microorganism, that is the trichoderma, pseudomonas, bacillus. These all are biofertilizers, bacteria, microorganism which we used as a fertilizer in a field condition to improve the soil nutrient quality as well as the plant productivity. So now if we compare the biofertilizer and chemical fertilizer difference, so basically the biofertilizer do not have any adverse effect on the environment as well as on a human being, while the chemical fertilizer have the drastic effect on environment and living being. Biofertilizer can increase the crop production by 10 to 30%, and fertilizer reach the water bodies through rainwater causing pollution in water bodies that can affect the living beings in a water bodies. Biofertilizer reduce the use of chemical by 25%. They help in growth and well-being and increase the soil efficiency, soil productivity, increase the natural fertility of soil, and drying the crop, and also protect against the salinity and other biotic and abiotic effect. But in comparison to chemical fertilizer, biofertilizer is much more effective for the plant as well as for the environment. They are cost effective. They have the ability to improve the soil fertility without affecting the human life and without affecting the environmental condition. But the uses of chemical fertilizer is very expensive. They affect the soil. They can decrease the microflora of the soils, as well as they can provide the greenhouse gases and increase the greenhouse gases production, which directly affect the environmental condition, and these environmental condition is directly affect the human life. So if we compare to the biofertilizer and chemical fertilizer, they can be interlinked, and the biofertilizer is the most important fertilizer. So they can used in place of chemical fertilizer if we want to replace the chemical fertilizer from the environment. So how we produce the biofertilizer? Here I have given some example that is use the trichoderma. Trichoderma is basically a fungus that is isolated from the plant, and how we produce the biofertilizer and how we use the biofertilizer. Here I am provided a single example through the trichoderma. So here the first is trichoderma is used as a 10 ml biosuspension, and we can mix this biosuspension with the any carrier medium. Here I have taken the bajra, and we can mix the trichoderma with bajra, and after the proper growth of the trichoderma on bajra carrier, we can make the mixture of this powder, and this powder we used for the apply on the field condition by mixing with the compost. We mix the 50-gram biofertilizer with 5 kg compost, and after that this mixture and solution we can use for the application at the field condition by the soil, and by the air spray or other irrigation method we can apply on the field condition. So here is the method how we use to apply the biofertilizer. There are the 3 different methods. We can use the by root of if and the second is seed treatment, and by the use of soil. Root method is used for the most of the crops, while the seed treatment is used for the plant-based set of crops, and the soil method can also use for the all crops. These are the three different methods we can use for the application of biofertilizer. In soil method, we can mix the biofertilizer with a carrier, that is water, natural cow dung, manure, coco pit, and leave it at overnight. After that, this mixture is applied to the soil at the time of sowing, and apply the mixture to the soil near the root zone, so it can have the ability to cope up into the plant root and can be affected on the plant. In the second method, seed treatment, we use a plastic bucket and tub can be used for the purpose. And before treatment, we wash the seeds with the water, and after that, the mixture apply on the seeds, and after that, seeds can be sown on the field condition. And the root use, put the required amount of bioformulation in one container, and we can dip the plant root into this mixture, and after the drying, there is submerge the minimum of 1 hours before planting. And these are the some papers reported that endophytic bacteria can be used as a modulation of defense related gene and systematic resistance in Vidania somnifera. Here you can see that the biofertilizer treated plant can show the less rose generation, and the most of the affected by the fungus, that shows the more rose generation without the biofertilizer treatment. Here I have provided only a single reported paper for your information, that the biofertilizer can affected the plant physiological as well as their molecular and their genomic level relation, and they can also affect it not even at a abiotic stress condition but also as a biotic stress condition. Here you can see that the same image, and you can see that the biofertilizers and the endophytic bacteria we can use in a biofertilizer, so they have the ability to colonize into the plant, so they can affect the plant tissue organization. Here you can see that the endophytic bacteria can colonize into the plant, so they make the plant more suitable in different environment, more specifically in the biotic stress condition. And here you can pictures see that the biofertilizer have the most effect on the plant physiological level, and you can see that the pathogen affected plant is less physiologically active, while after the treatment of the biofertilizer you can see that the plant physiological growth is much more higher as compared to control as well as the pathogen infected. And here you can see that the histological study, that is the transverse section of the tomato plant, and you can see that the plant is much more wealthy and healthy in presence of the endophytic biofertilizers as compared to chemical fertilizer. Here the picture shows the chemical fertilizer treatment, and these both pictures shows the biofertilizer treatment, and you can see that their tissue are much more healthier as compared to chemical fertilizer treatment. So this image and here the physiological characters uh, clearly indicate that the biofertilizer affect the plant growth not even at a physiological level but also their anatomical level. They also affect the plant tissue and cell organization, and they can have the better effect on plant as compared to chemical fertilizer. So chemical fertilizer is not only less competitive for plant, but they also affect the environmental condition and human life and other living things. So chemical fertilizer, if we want to replace the chemical fertilizer, so biofertilizer is as compared to chemical fertilizer is much more advantage, and they have the much more advantage, and they have the much more efficient characteristics features as compared to chemical fertilizer. So now come to the what is the basic effect biofertilizer and their advantage. If we use the biofertilizer as compared to chemical fertilizer, so these are eco-friendly. They do not have any effect on the environmental condition, and they remove the pollutants. Most of the biofertilizers are reported for the removal of the hazardous heavy metals as well as the pesticides chemicals, and they improve the soil water holding capacity. If the water if the soil is present in a drought condition, they have the ability to increase the water holding capacity, which will provide the beneficial to the plant, and they decrease the soil erosion. They activate the soil biologically activity because they are the microorganism. They also incorporate the other microorganism and attract the other microorganism to colonize into the soil and make the area much more biologically active. And they decompose plant residues and stabilize ratio in soil. They stimulate the plant growth by secreting the growth hormones, and they also secrete the antifungal and antibiotic like substance, so which are essential in condition of biotic stress. If a plant facing so many pathogens attack on them, in that condition biofertilizer have an additional effect. They can suppress the plant pathogens growth, as well as they protect the plant from the biotic stress. They do not have any adverse effect on plant growth, and they produce the indole acetic acid, gibberellin, vitamin B that catalyze the growth of crops and yields. And they are cheaper than the commercial and chemical fertilizer because 20 gram of solid biofertilizer available in rupees 60, while the liquid biofertilizer available in a 280 liter, in comparison to chemical fertilizer, because chemical fertilizer is so expensive and they are harmful for the environment and the other things. In comparison to them, they are easy to available, and they are non cost, not any costly, and they are eco friendly, and they are much more effective at as compared to chemical fertilizer. So we can take up a step and we can use the biofertilizer as compared to chemical fertilizer, so environment can be much more healthier for the other things, and we can also stop some chemical fertilizers adverse effect on the environment. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Priyanka. It was an informative presentation. I will take up the questions from the participants now. In the meantime, can you please on your video? We'll check if the voice is clear.
Yeah.
Okay, you continue. If your voice is breaking, I will switch off the video from my side. Okay. Dr. Priyanka, you're available? No, Dr. Priyanka, your voice is breaking. I think it is better we'll switch off.
Available, but I think
that's what. Yeah. This is better, I think. Okay.
I think, I think it is better that I have stopped the video.
We require the audio at least. Okay. Okay. I'll move to the questions now. The first question is, what are traditional chemical fertilizers and how do they differ from biofertilizer in terms of composition and origin?
Yeah, so in chemical fertilizer, we most of the use the inorganic compound. So if we provide the phosphate, we can use the compound that is inorganic, and we found the phosphate in form of the inorganic compound. But in biofertilizer, we can use the microorganism, not any type of inorganic compound. So biofertilizer in microbe can provide the ability to solubilize the phosphate that is available in a soil. So they can provide the phosphate to plant in available form. We do not provide any type of inorganic compound in biofertilizer. In biofertilizer, we only provide the microorganism. So the microorganism is useful. Am I audible?
Okay, your voice is clear. I'll move on to the next question.
Yeah.
What are the primary nutrients provided by chemical fertilizers and how do they compare to the nutrients offered by biofertilizers?
So basically, I have previous question, I have told you that in a chemical fertilizer we have basically provided the compound. If we provide the essential nutrient to plant, we can provide the compound with another form. Suppose if we take an example such as if we provided the nitrogen, we can provide the organic inorganic compound in form of nitrogen. But in biofertilizer, we do not provide directly inorganic compound. We just provide the microorganism. So the microorganism have the ability to solubilize the compound such as a nitrogen from the soils, and after that these these compound, that the nitrogen is readily available for the plant. We do not provide any ready available compound in biofertilizers. There is the major difference between the chemical fertilizer and biofertilizer, because in chemical fertilizer we in a starting we can provide the inorganic compound. We directly provide the inorganic compound in form of with other compound.
Okay, I'll move
Yeah.
to the next question. What is the mechanism of nutrient release in chemical fertilizers, and how does it differ from the nutrient release mechanism of biofertilizer?
So the I first differ that the biofertilizer do not release any nutrient. They can create the environment for the plant to solubilize the nutrient that is available also in a soil. But plant do not have the ability to take up these nutrients from the soils, because the nutrients are available in these nutrients are available in a soil that is not taken up by the plant. So microorganism can convert the nutrient into the available form. Before the biofertilizer application, the nutrients are available in a soil in an unavailable form for the plant. After the biofertilizer application, they can convert the unavailable form into the available form for the plant. But in chemical fertilizer, we can provide the different type of compound, so they can release the different nutrient in the environment, in the soils for the plant. So plant can easily take up the compound, such as a different types of nutrient are available, that are the ammonium phosphate as well as the urea, which provide the nitrogen, and hydrous ammonia, which also provides the nitrogen. So these are compound complex compound, and they release a single nutrient into the soil for the plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the advantages of using biofertilizers in agriculture compared to traditional chemical fertilizers?
So, basically, biofertilizer is inexpensive as compared to chemical fertilizer, as well as they are eco-friendly as compared to chemical fertilizer. They have the much more availability to do not affect the environmental condition as compared to chemical fertilizer, and they also provide the target, and they also provide the diverse effect on plant, such as a biotic antibiotic both condition. While the chemical fertilizer is chemical fertilizer is target specific. If we provide the urea, so urea have the ability to provide the nitrogen. It does not have the ability to provide the phosphorus and other essential nutrient. If we provide a single biofertilizer, it has the ability to provide the plant to nitrogen, phosphorus, as well as it has the ability to provide the protection of the plant against the different types of the biotic stress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any limitations or disadvantages associated with the use of biofertilizers in agriculture when compared to chemical fertilizers?
Yeah. Basically, biofertilizer have an advantage as compared to chemical fertilizer, because biofertilizer is so slow for their reaction and for their work, and they are not much more effective as in a soil colonization area. So they have the so many, so they take up the so many time to provide their effect on plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do the costs of traditional chemical fertilizers compare to the cost of biofertilizers for farmers?
Yeah, so basically chemical fertilizer is so expensive. I don't know the much price about the chemical fertilizer. I just know about that the one packet of the urea is is the rate of one packet of urea is, I think that is the 500 to 600, above the 500 to 600. I'm not much more about no, much more aware about the exact amount of the one packet of urea. While in comparison to biofertilizer, there the 100 gram of packet of 6 rupees of biofertilizer which used for the treatment of the more than 1,000 seedling. So we can treat the 1,000 seedling and we can spread on the field condition. So as compared to cost effective, the biofertilizer is much more cheaper than chemical fertilizer.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the role of microorganisms in biofertilizers and how do they contribute to plant growth and soil health?
Yeah, so biofertilizer is basically dependent on the microorganism. The name is denoted exactly that the biofertilizer word is dependent on microorganism. Microorganism have the ability to provide the plant growth promoting activity to plant, as well as they have the ability to wealthier the microflora of the soil, and they do not have the any adverse effect on the environment, and they provide the strength and protect the plant from the biotic stress.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can biofertilizers be used as complete replacement for chemical fertilizers, or is a combination of both typically recommended in the modern agriculture?
I think at after the so many years of application of the biofertilizer, there is situation is arrive in future. If we only use the biofertilizer in place of chemical fertilizer, so we maybe replace the chemical fertilizer with the biofertilizer if we apply the biofertilizer continuously.
Okay. I'll move on to the next question. Are there any specific crops or agricultural practices where the use of biofertilizers is more beneficial than traditional chemical fertilizers and vice versa?
Actually, basically, biofertilizer is approved by the Central Bureau of Central Insecticidal Board. So they have the criteria that the biofertilizer is not a crop specific. It has the wide spectrum on different crops. So if we want to provide a approval from the CIB for the registration of our biofertilizer, so biofertilizer is not work on a crop specific. They are broad spectrum and they have the ability to provide the effect on different type of crops.
Okay.
Yeah.
What research and development efforts are underway to enhance the effectiveness and application of biofertilizers in agriculture?
Because they I think there is the deficient or lack between the research and farmers. So most of the biofertilizer is formulated in a lab and they are left in the lab, and we do not reach with the farmer, and we do not provide the awareness program to the farmer that they apply the biofertilizer and they will use the biofertilizer. So I think there is the lacuna between the communication with the research institute and with the farmers.
Okay. How do factors like climate, soil type, and crop type influence the choice between traditional chemical fertilizer and biofertilizer?
So the climatic factor is affect the choice between the chemical fertilizer and biofertilizer. If we use the biofertilizer, we can counterattack the climate effect in some cases. If we use the chemical fertilizer in future, so it will be harmful for the environmental condition and climate effect. So for the future, it will helpful for us. So we use the biofertilizer as compared to chemical fertilizer.
Okay. Can you provide some real world examples or case studies where the adoption of biofertilizers has shown significant benefits over the use of chemical fertilizers in agriculture?
Yeah, so there are much more examples are available, and some biofertilizer were also available in a market, such as a tricon, that is trichoderma biofertilizer is applicable on most of the field that used for the NPK replacement. And these trichoderma biofertilizer provide the nitrogen phosphorus to the plant. And besides that, there is a pusa biofertilizer is also available, which used for the plant for the growth, as well as they also use the removal of the stable and remaining residues from the rice crop field.
Okay, thank you very much. We have now completed the round of questions. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we like to thank Dr. Priyanka Chauhan for the talk
Thank
and
you
for
so much.
answering the questions in detail. I like to also thank all the participants in the meeting. This meeting will now be closed.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.